Hello Flight Simmers, Weeper here, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be looking at augmented reality, specifically with my setup and BMS. When I originally started my cockpit project, one of the long-term goals was going to be shifting to augmented reality. However, I did not think I'd have it at this point. I thought it'd be much later, maybe another 10 years, etc. And one of the, kind of the funny things is, when I first started my project, some of the haters, or whatever you want to call them, ridiculous comments would come out saying that they have a better setup than mine because they use VR. Now, they weren't wrong, because with my old setup with the 270-degree screen, I can only look kind of left and right, and that was about it. But I chose to fly that way because I was more about the switchology of my cockpit functions than worrying about outside. That being said, now that I'm in augmented reality, I have the most amazing, immersive, simulated flight you could possibly imagine, other than getting, a motion platform at this point, which I don't think is something I'll ever bother with for other reasons I'll talk about in some other video. But yeah, so now I have my amazing cockpit, and now I can look left, right, up, down, and around, and I just couldn't ask for anything more. So one of the, problems with the current generation of, I'll say, affordable headsets that we have, I'll use the Quest 3 and the Picos, I think maybe they're 4 or 3, I'm not even sure. At this point, I'll call them Gen 1 headsets. So I think some of the misconception that comes out, and I've seen people make comments and kind of steer people away from it, was that the Quest 3 was unsuitable. And I don't think that's fair at all, and kind of a irresponsible comment to make from somebody who probably tried it for 5 minutes. That being said, when I first took my headset out, I was quite shocked how, I don't want to say poor the pass-through cameras were, but they certainly weren't as good as what I thought. In my mind, not understanding any of the technology, I pull up my iPhone, I can look at a video, and I'm getting a high-def received video of what I'm looking at. I guess I kind of thought the same thing would be in the headsets, so currently it was not. So I was a little shocked by that. But the problem is, when you're in your cockpit and you're looking at some of the fine print and the gauges and etc., right out of the box, I found I couldn't really read the gauges or switches or whatever. I couldn't really read them that well without having to force my head in. So was it a deal breaker for me? Absolutely not, because when you're flying around, you're looking into this immersive environment, and it quickly, like I said, it's just not a deal breaker. But some of the good things are your eyes do get used to it, just like somebody who takes their glasses off, suddenly they're gonna see the difference. But if they were to continue to wear their glasses off, I would imagine their eyes are gonna adjust a little bit. I'm not saying it gets better, but your eyes just get used to it to where it's not such a shock anymore. However, what I learned is having, I can see on the back of me, which I'll describe later, is I added floodlights in my cockpit to simulate the sunlight. Now, the main purpose of that was to when I first started using augmented reality, it was a little weird because I'm in a bright sunlight of a day, like I'm in the bright sun flying around, and my cockpit lighting was all on. And it was kind of toying with my mind a little bit. That kind of didn't feel realistic. So my original plan was to put a couple floodlights to flood up the cockpit full of light to give that artificial sun. And instantly when I did that, I realized I can now read everything in my cockpit. So the clarity in my cockpit now with those lights on is probably, I'd say, like 99%, like guaranteed. Like I can see so much better, and it just looks fantastic. Another bonus that I realized was my cockpit is using all real parts and stuff. A lot of these panels, the dates on them are from the mid-'80s to early '90s. And you can tell by looking at the lighting, the bulbs are kind of to go and fade out and potentially die, and at one point they will. So not having those on all the time is saving me a lot of wear and tear in the cockpit. So by putting these floodlights, I've actually added so many bonuses, but I guess the greatest point is the clarity. So that problem is out of the bag. We don't need to worry about that with affordable line of headsets. And of course, these are what I like to call Gen 1, so 2 or 3 years from now we're going to have a better headset, and who knows, the clarity may not even need that kind of lighting inside the cockpit. The next one was the Quest 3 is designed, I guess, to run wireless, including the virtual desktop, which is what you need to use augmented reality in BMS. And like I said, I'm not an engineer, but I don't know who is thinking you can engineer a headset using the kind of graphics we have in DCS and BMS and actually expect to have a wireless headset. It's just completely stupid. So another member showed me a tip on using an Ethernet to USB-C adapter and basically running my headset directly into my hub. And now I'm running a wired headset, and now I don't even have to worry about that. So I have instant speed. I don't have to worry about lowering down the bit rate or the graphic settings because I have a poor connection, or one day my good connection is reading a little poor for whatever reason. So it's just completely unreasonable to fly our sims with a wireless headset. So running it wired was just an added bonus. And also, not to mention, I don't have to charge my headset anymore. It's fully charged at all times. I can do 8-hour flights if I want to. I don't have to put battery packs and all this contraption crap on my head to counterbalance the headset, etc., etc. So running it wired, having floodlights in your cockpit for daylights is optimal, and it's going to give you the greatest experience. Now, that being said, flying at night, you can't have the floodlights in the cockpit because now we have the reverse where you're flying at night and yet you have all these lights on in your cockpit. However, using the backpit panel lighting, a little bit of floodlight does help, and the clarity is reduced a bit. I get it, but we're just not in a perfect world at this point. However, the point I'm trying to make is, don't read the bullshit comments out there about people telling you the Quest 3 sucks. They simply have never tried it. I've got about 70 hours now running this headset, and I didn't want to put this video out till I kind of finalized my techniques and what gives you the best performance. So let's have a look at both the lighting, the connection, and then how we get it set up in BMS. Okay, so in order to get this wired, you're going to need two things. You're going to need an Ethernet to USB-C adapter, and then you're also going to need a USB-C female to USB-C female plug. Try to find one that has a USB-C plug-in on the side, and how that works is you plug your charging cable into there so your headset is always maintaining a full charge. So these are a dime a dozen on Amazon. I'd actually purchased a couple different ones, settled on this one, and my kind of thing is when it comes to these little cheap connectors and whatnot, or cheap displays for my cockpit, I always buy spares. So basically your headset is going to plug into here using one of the USB-Cs, obviously, because your headset is going to be a USB-C. And then you plug your charging cable into here, and then this, of course, is an Ethernet, and that will go to your router, or to your hub, etc. And now you're going to have a wired headset, and it's going to be fully charged. When it comes to the headset cable, I actually bought one of the Quest Link cables, which was, if I remember, something like a $300 cable, and I know you can get equivalent on Amazon for probably 12 bucks. However, I watched a good video. I'm an Adam Savage fan. I watched one of his videos where he analyzed a typical USB-C cable, or I think it was, anyways, it was one of those Apple cables, like the Link, for instance, that cost $300, and he compared it to the cheap ones on Amazon, and you can kind of see the difference. So in the end, I'm a big believer in you get what you pay for. So I use my Link cable for my headset, plugged into here. Again, this goes to your router, and then I plug in my charging cable right there. And like I said, it's just a nice, ideal setup. I always got a good charge. I got a fast connection. I never have to worry about slow bit rates or etc. or graphic settings. I just have everything maxed out. 0 issues. So here you can see I put a little shelf on my wall with my hand controllers and my headset. Hand controllers I only use for getting stuff set up. I run my Link cable with enough slack so it kind of runs up along my chest, along with my mic headset. just going down where they normally would, my comms cable and my O2 cable. And then I'll run out the front over here. And then of course, you can see I have it set up into here. There's my charging cable, my Ethernet, and it goes up over to my hub over there. Okay, so let's talk about the lighting. So currently, all I'm using are these two LEDs, spotlights. I looked on Amazon, I tried different ones. I ended up settling on these. They're nice and small and compact and pretty bright. They also come with this little hand remote where I can kind of change the color here. I just can't remember how. Yeah, so here I got kind of a warm light, a cool light, and somewhere in the middle. And comparing photos, I found this 4000K one to be similar to what I see in a cockpit. I can control the brightness individually, or I have just kind of basic hard settings, 40 degrees, 10, like depending on the time of day, I'll kind of adjust that to kind of match the lighting that feels real to me. I built this stand just out of PVC pipe. I just did something really quick as I was trial and erroring. And then I put these clamps on here that I found at an auto shop that go on a pickup truck. I just kind of use that to kind of hold them in place. And my plan was to kind of make one out of aluminum, kind of make it look nice. But in the end, I just kind of spray painted it black and said, you know, it kind of does the job for now. And I'm not sure if I'll make adjustments in the future. And then I just kind of ran her into this box right here, plugged it in. And one of the reasons why is I just put a remote for that switch kind of on my wall here when I'm getting things set up or I'm doing maintenance. I can kind of turn it off and on. So kind of have a lot of access to the different controls of lights and how I want to use them. So some of the future ideas that I want to do, I did a little test, and I'm thinking by adding another two directly kind of off to the side here, a little bit left and right, directly over, like coming down, and getting a Arduino controller of some sort, something I'll do in the future, and basically have the four lights on a individual dim controller that can track the sun. So as I'm rolling around, etc., the lights will kind of dim and go bright, simulating sun. So I kind of did it a little bit manually, and it kind of works. It's not perfect, but it kind of does give the feel that the light above you is kind of moving around. So that's probably one of the additions I'll add to this kind of down the road. But in regards to just making it feel like you're flying in the daylight and having ultimate clarity, this is a very good setup, very cheap, and I don't think it cost me more than about, with the lights and the PVC, I don't think it cost me more than 50 bucks. And again, I bought a lot of spares of those lights. Okay, so here we are in the headset. What we're going to want to start is virtual desktop. So we'll get that started. Okay, once you're in virtual desktop, there's a lot of virtual rooms you can have set up. I just have it on pass-through so I can see my cockpit as I'm putting my knee boards on, etc., getting things set up, grabbing the hand controllers. So in virtual desktop, there's only two things you need to worry about: settings and streaming. In settings, I pretty much left all mine at default as far as I can remember. I left mine at 72 frames per second. Some people use 90. I didn't see much of a difference based off how my computer runs. So, but either way, you can set that accordingly. The main one is going to be streaming. Again, if you are running it wired like I demonstrated, you don't need to worry about any of this stuff. It really doesn't have much of a difference. What we want to worry about here is VR pass-through. Okay. And with BMS, you're going to want to set your pass-through configuration color to magenta, which is going to be red 255, green 0, blue 255. Similarity should be at default 0, smoothness 10%. To be honest, I'm not even sure what that does, but I've left it there. And then one thing I did do is I deselected show boundary. And what I found with that is if I'm leaning forward, looking at stuff or trying to look over the canopy to see on the ground, you don't see that blue border showing up warning you that you're getting close to your boundary. So getting rid of that kind of helps with the immersion. So once that is left and you've set your VR pass-through up, you're pretty much good to go. We're not going to worry about Steam VR. OpenXR has been implemented in BMS, which is Perfect. So we're going to launch BMS, and with the magic of video editing, we'll talk to you when we're back in the 3D world. Okay, so here we are in the 3D world. You can set it up in your CFG so you can automatically default to the augmented reality view, which is what I have here. And once you come in the 3D world, most likely your VR and augmented reality views aren't going to be lined up, so we have to line those up. So what I do is turn my hands on here. I like to line up that center screw on the ICP with the real one, and by doing, let's just get this out of the way, and by doing so, I use Hotaz Pinky DX and my UHF switch. I just pull my head back a bit. You kind of line it up. Only just a couple seconds. That looks good enough for now. And then you can see we're kind of better lined up there. Okay, this AR mask is based off the 3D cockpit in BMS. You can see it's slightly off. It's not perfect, but I haven't really felt a need to change it. It's good enough for me. In addition, some key commands you can add, again, using my DX and my COM switch. So if I go to DX shift and then I go to VHF, it allows me to look close. And again, that's just a typical VR function. And additional to the augmented reality, we also added a toggle switch, which I use DX shift and IFF out. And by doing so, I can toggle between the VR and AR pit. And that's good to, especially for cockpit builders, to kind of reference some stuff to see if things are synced up or if you're having any issues, or just if you want to reference the VR pit for whatever reason. In addition to that, a DX shift and an IFF in is I use that to disable the pilot legs if I'm using virtual knee boards, for example, but I always use the real ones. So as you can see, we can look all around. We're totally in the immersive environment. You can see my wingman over there. And it's just absolutely fantastic. You can't get any better than this. So I encourage people, especially with 3D printing and all the community files that are out there, provided you're not hardcore and you want only all real equipment, you can build yourself a setup like this for fairly cheap and really enjoy this immersive environment that I'm in. Okay, so in conclusion, as you can see, the Quest 3 is a very suitable headset for augmented reality. It is low cost compared to other headsets. It's very compact compared to other headsets as well, which is why I like it so much. And with the added aids of good, sufficient lighting, you can increase the clarity in the cockpit and make it totally usable. Some future advancements I'd like to see in the headset, if possible, is I wish it could be integrated into the computer a little bit more. What I mean by that is currently to record video in the headset, you have to use the hand controllers and on-screen menu or use your fingers kind of thing with the little menu system I have. I would like for keyboard strokes to actually trigger the camera. That way I could tie it into my AVTR switch. And also, while speaking with their support, the Quest 3 video will only record off the headset microphone itself. No other external mics that are plugged into the computer. I guess you can hook an external mic into the side of the headset. I think it's on this side. But with my current flight aviation headset and intercom system that I have, that really wouldn't work. So if it could record straight off the computer mic, I think that would be pretty good. So some things you see in videos that people have asked me questions on. One is the magenta divided line that divides the virtual reality from the augmented reality. Nothing we can do about that. That's part of virtual desktop. I kind of wish that they could eliminate that somehow, or maybe make it 1 pixel or something like that. I'm sure there's a reason to the size that it is. But like I said earlier, you just don't notice it when you're flying. It's more noticeable at night, no doubt, but as you're busy flying and monitoring systems, etc., you don't really notice it. You notice it more in the videos than when you're actually flying. Another one is with the warping camera views. As I turn around with the pass-through cameras, my hands go close to certain areas. I guess that's all done with how the head tracking system works, and not much we can do about it. But again, you just don't really notice it when you're flying. So if you're interested in augmented reality, I would certainly look into the Quest 3. And remember, by my definition, they're only the first generation headsets, and they're only going to get better.